Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel Programming Knowledge. In today's Microsoft Excel tutorials video, we would be continuing our discussion with the statistical functions as we started it in the previous video. And in the previous video, we saw the three single criteria statistical functions in Microsoft Excel. Now, if we just try to revisit it once again, so the statistical functions are those which are used to calculate the data or produce the result only if a certain condition is followed or a certain criteria is matched. Now they are of two types, the single criteria and the multiple criteria. The single criteria statistical functions are SUMIFS, COUNTIFS and AVERAGEIFS, whose usage we just saw in the previous video, where they are used to show the result only if a single criteria matches the given information. Alright, now we have the multiple criteria statistical functions, and as the name suggests, what are they used to do? They are used to show the result on the basis of the multiple criteria. There are some kind of situations where you need to manipulate the data based on the different conditions. Alright, so in this kind of a case, these multiple criteria statistical functions are the ones that come to your help. So they are of three types, which is SUMIFS, COUNTIFS and AVERAGEIFS. Now all these three functions are self-explanatory again, and they are only used to perform the actions which is already stated. That is, the SUMIFS function is used to find the sum of the data, the COUNTIFS function is used to find the count of the data, and the AVERAGEIFS function is used to find out the average of the given data. Now since the word ifs is included in it, which means it is used to make a combination of the different of the if conditions, that is why they have been categorized as multiple criteria statistical functions, as they are used to show the result depending upon the multiple criteria. So that is all about these functions that you need to know. And now let us jump into their usage and understand that how can they be used. So here we have our criteria table. These are these three criteria that are given to us, and we need to find their appropriate result. Now if you see here, we have two criteria. We are given the days and the name criteria as well. In our previous examples, what we had was the days criteria or the data criteria only, which was a single criteria. Alright, now here what we have two criteria, the days as well as the name. Now these criteria are taken from this table, which is comprised of three columns: the name column, the days column and the data column. So out of these, the days and the name column will act as the criteria array or the criteria range, and the data column would be acting as a corresponding range, or which is used to show us the result in the form of the sum range or the average range. Alright, now let us see its usage. So first of all, what we are going to do is put an equal sign and write SUMIFS and put a tab. Now you can see that in our previous example, what we had, this sum range was an optional argument. Now here this sum range is not an optional argument. Otherwise this sum range is a mandatory argument. Alright, so here we need to provide the sum range. So what is our sum range? It is the data column whose sum we need to find. So we are just going to select this whole sum range, which is this whole data column. Then put a comma, and it asks for criteria range 1, and this is also a mandatory argument because at least one criteria needs to be supplied for the working of the SUMIFS function. But again, if you want to evaluate it on the basis of a single criteria, then you got to use the SUMIFS function because its usage is much simpler than this one. So our first criteria range is the days. So just select this whole days column, put a comma. Then what is our first criteria? Our first criteria is that the days must be equals to Monday. So within double quotes write MON. Why we are using double quotes? Because this is a string value, and close the double quotes. Then put a comma. Now as soon as you put the comma, you can see that you have got some other arguments, and these are in square brackets, which means these are optional arguments, and this is criteria range 2 and criteria 2. And similarly, we have got criteria range 3 and so on, which means that we can supply it with as many criterias as we want. But since our table is consisting of only 3 columns, so that is why we are just using 2 criterias. But if we want in this also, we can use multiple criterias as well. So the criteria range 2 is going to be our names column. So just select this names column, put a comma, then it asks for criteria 2. Now what is our criteria 2? Our criteria 2 is that the name must be equals to Sam. So since it's again a string value, provide it in double quotes, close the double quotes and just close the parenthesis and press enter. So the result we got is 3. Let us just check this value. For Sam and Monday, we have got only a single data whose value is 3. Alright. And that is the answer that we have got. Now what if we just try to just change this to Monday and press enter. Now as soon as we pressed enter, you must have seen that this data has changed. Now there are 2 records of Sam where the data is equals to Monday and its total data is 4. So that is why we have got the answer as 4. Now similarly, we need to find a count if the days are equals to Monday and the name is equals to Sam. So just put an equals, write the COUNTIF function, put a tab, and COUNTIFS function we need to write and put a tab. So criteria range 1, what is our first criteria range? That is this days column. Put a comma, then the criteria, which is nothing but Monday, put it in double quotes, again put a comma, the criteria range 2, which is our names column, put a comma and write the criteria, which is Sam. Close the double quotes, close the parenthesis, press enter. So we have got the answer as 2, which is absolutely correct. There are only 2 records where the name is equals to Sam and the days are equals to Monday. Now third is the AVERAGEIFS function, which is just a simple extension of the SUMIFS function, and instead of the sum range we have this average range. Now you must have noticed that in the COUNTIFS function we had no count range kind of an argument. We had only the criteria range and the criteria. This is because the COUNTIF is only concerned with the criteria and its range and not about what is the third thing, that is like the sum range or the average range in the SUMIFS and the AVERAGEIFS function. Now if we just go to this AVERAGEIFS function, right, averages, put a tab, the average range, the first argument is mandatory, so just this is going to be our average range, comma, the criteria range 1, which is going to be this days, comma, the criteria which is Monday. Now these 2 criteria which we have set, they could be interchangeable, means you can write this names criteria first and this days criteria afterwards, it doesn't really matter. Then the second criteria, which is Sam, and press enter. So we have got the answer as 2. If we just want to tally the data, then it's 4 divided by 2 for SUMIFS and COUNTIF, and the answer is 2. So that is through 2 criteria. But what if we have more than 2 criteria? Like only in this function, SUMIFS days equals to Monday and name equals to Sam, we have 3 and 1. So we need to only find the data if it is greater than 2. Then in that case we have 3 criteria. So how can we find? So let me first just write this criteria. We need to count if days equals Monday, comma, name equals Sam, and data is greater than 2. Okay, so this is our criteria now, and for this we are going to just apply this COUNTIFS function. So how can we do that? Put an equal sign, COUNTIFS, put a tab. Now the first criteria is days equals to Monday, but since we can use it in any fashion, so first of all I'm just going to provide it with this data criteria, put a comma. What is a criteria range? That it must be greater than 2, close the double quotes, put a comma. Now our second one is this let's say name. What must be the name? The name must be Sam, close the double quotes, put a comma. Then our third criteria is going to be for this days, and then put a comma. Within double quotes you can write as Monday, and like this, put an enter, and we got the answer as 1, which is absolutely correct, because this is the only data which is greater than 2 and its count is 1, so that's why we have got the answer as 1. So that is all about the multiple criteria's statistical functions in Microsoft Excel. And as you can see that using these multiple criteria function, we can use as many criteria that we want for applying these statistical functions. Now this criteria has no upper limit, that means you can use as many criteria as you want. So that is all about these multiple criteria function. I hope you all have enjoyed it, and for more such tutorials keep watching the YouTube channel Programming Knowledge. Till then, goodbye.